Hey, mate.
G'day, guys.
How are you?
How's it going, everyone? Welcome to Ruin Hammer.
Welcome to episode 33, mate. I think we're up to now.
33. We're getting through them.
We are indeed.
How's things, mate? How's it going? Unfortunately, probably not the news you wanted to hear today. Bit of an extended lockdown down there.
Yeah, we've got another 4 weeks to put us on. So, yeah, it's mate, it is what it is. You know, there's not much you can do about it. So I guess I'm looking at these 4 walls for another couple of weeks. Mate, I've got to find what I do have to do. I've got to find a mobile barber, so I can get my hair cut and have my beard trimmed, because it's starting to just get way out of control now. It's
get yourself manicured to look at least, somewhat civilized.
Yeah, I think, yeah, somewhat civilized. It's I don't know if anyone's noticed, we've got a new format tonight on screen too. It's we're trying a new software program out, so we're hoping it goes well.
you know us, we're always on top of all these technological changes. So I hope you guys like the new setup. We're having a bit of an experiment, and hopefully it's here to stay, and we'll bring you guys some great content through this format.
Yeah, absolutely. We can do a little bit more. We can share a little bit more in terms of graphics and visuals. As you can see, we've got the logo sitting behind us now, and we're kind of superimposed over the top, and we've got some banners that can pop up at the bottom of the screen. So we're going to be using some banner headings at the moment. We've got our Linktree banner sitting there. So if you go to Linktree, you can find all our social media platforms in one spot.
That's right. It's everywhere where we have a presence online. We're also going live to YouTube tonight. We're trying that. So g'day to everyone who's watching us through YouTube. Great to have you with us.
Yeah, it's we're getting technical, mate. We're growing.
We are. We've been in the game for almost a year now, so we're getting a bit of experience in this the world of online streaming.
Absolutely.
Anyway, mate.
It is almost a year. I think it was the first week of August we went live for the first time last year. So, yeah.
If anyone's interested, go back and watch that to see how far we have come.
Yeah, absolutely. A couple of people saying hello, mate, just before we move through. Victor Kiwi's on. Sean James, of course. My mum Mary's on. Mark Roberts. Mark Roberts tuning in for his weekly rants with Ruin Hammer segment that he loves so much.
That's right.
I'm sure Ciala will be in pretty soon for that.
Yeah.
It was a good one, mate, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was awesome. Fantastic chat with Jazz. Always open and honest. That's what we love about him. Interviews like he plays, straight to the point.
Absolutely.
How about his pre-game ritual? I had that in my head all day.
I was so worried. I thought his pre-game ritual was going to be about something else to do.
Releasing the tension, maybe?
Yeah. That. So when he said what it was, I was kind of a bit relieved and kind of understandable. I think, I've had that kind of that bowel stuff happen when I get nervous at times, I guess. So yeah, it's probably just understandable, I think.
It's all part of the fun.
Yeah, mate.
Okay, well, I think we should address the elephant in the room, and that is Roger Tuivasa-Sheck's sudden decision to depart the Warriors early. A decision that the club gave their full support to, and we were notified about that on Monday.
Yeah, for me, it was very surprising, to be honest. It's not something I was expecting. And look, Roger's been a great servant for the game and for the Roosters when he was there, and for the Warriors. And there's arguments on both sides for him leaving early and staying on, which we'll discuss. Yep. We'll try to discuss now. And just, for those that are watching, please be aware that we're not taking a side in this discussion at this point in time. At this point, we're just going to talk about, we're just going to talk about the pros and cons of his decision. However, at the end, we will give our personal opinion at the end of the discussion. But yeah, moving forward, I think, you know, if you just listen to the points that we raise, and you guys can make up your own mind, you know, we're all adults. Yeah.
Exactly right. First and foremost, the first key point, I think, is family. He endured a long season last year, 2020, without his family. And, you know, and he displayed time and time again, like like a professional mentality. And he put the team first. And yeah, like he was without his family. He missed the first steps of his kids. He missed a lot of great moments, and yeah, he stuck through right until the end. He had the opportunity to leave early as well when he was injured in the second last round, and decided to stay on.
Yeah, that's true. And as you said, like, it's his team first mentality has always been at the forefront. And by the way, these are the points for him in favour of him being able to leave early.
In favour,
yeah. And it's a personal sacrifice that he made. He, as you said, he continued to display that team first mentality. And again, that was displayed this season when he suffered a compound fracture of his finger in that Anzac Day game warm-up. An injury that would have ruled anybody out. And he asked to be stitched up just so he could play. So putting that into context, we've got Adam Fanua-Blake suffering a compound fracture in his finger in last week's game. He left the field and didn't return, and he will now spend a few weeks on the sideline. And this is by no way is casting shade at AFB at all, as every other NRL player who's had a compound fracture to their finger this season has missed game time. RTS didn't. He backed up the following week against the Cowboys. Such is his commitment to the team. So, you know, I mean, people have said a few things about his decision to leave, but you can't question his commitment to the team, especially over the past 2 years in this difficult time that we've been going through.
Yeah, absolutely. Next point is pride. I mean, he's been a wonderfully strong captain, leading the club through the toughest 2 seasons in the club's history. Fronting the media every week and fielding questions from the media and acting such an exemplary way that it was endeared to all within the NRL, and that was reflected in him winning Captain of the Year in the Dally M's, and that was well deserved and universally recognised of the effort that he did put in despite the adversity. Yeah,
and the other crucial one is the travel bubble. There's the uncertainty of a pandemic. We've been going through this uncertainty since March 2020, and how it moves through the community at such a rapid and uncontrollable pace. And I go back to, 5 weeks ago, I'm sitting in the stands at Central Coast Stadium watching games of footy, and now we're in a lockdown that's been going on for 2 hard weeks, and we've got another 4 to go. So the New Zealand government is closing that travel bubble indefinitely to Australia. There's no time period that they're going to be opening that in the near future. And Jazz even said that last night, that they've been told that they could be here till December. So no one from Australia, regardless of whether you're a Kiwi or not, will be able to travel to New Zealand for a minimum of at least 8 to 10 weeks from this weekend on. So after this weekend, Kiwis will have to wait for at least 8 weeks. And depending on how that pandemic's going, it could be Christmas before they get home. And then when they do get home, there's a 14-day isolation. Now, his window to return to New Zealand and not need to isolate and have a timely plan in place for his family and his transition expires this week, basically. And although we can't repeat what Jazz said last night, for those that were tuning in,
Mark Roberts certainly was. I can see.
For those that were choosing in last night, we can't repeat what Jazz said, but there is a reason that Roger's leaving in terms of the rugby side of things. Jazz dropped a bombshell that no one knew, and we probably weren't supposed to know. And I know it's on if you want to know what it is, you can go back and watch the interview with Jazz last night. But Jazz has asked us. How do you get the comments up? They're getting up now.
I have figured out a way because I'm a technical genius, of course.
Wow. Awesome. That's awesome. Oh, yeah, great
And well
stuff.
said, Sonny, there as well.
Yeah.
We're learning as we go here, folks.
Mate, I love. Yeah, that's awesome. Can you? Oh, breaking away. I'm kind of stopping because I mean,
we digress.
This is a new program for us. Yeah, we spent an hour and a half on air on Monday night just to my individual account, trying to work out how to do all this stuff. So yeah, we couldn't get it working, but obviously the technical genius there in Queensland is
yeah, that's all right. Everything's working north of the border. Don't worry.
Awesome. Great. Yeah, good to see. So
we'll be keeping an eye on that.
Yeah. So Jazz did drop a little bombshell last night that we can't really talk about, but yeah, it's that's one thing. And then the final one's the club approval, mate, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And let's remember that his early release from his contract wouldn't be possible without the blessing of the club. The whole aspect of him leaving a year early to start with isn't possible without the club giving them their blessing. We do understand there are clauses in the contract that means that if he does come back to rugby league, then the Warriors will have first dibs on him. And also this sort of premature release from the final 6 games of this season also come with the full blessing of the club, as we saw in the press conference on Monday with Cam George and RTS himself.
Yeah, true. It's and there's some valid arguments against him leaving early too. The main one being his contract. His original contract was until the end of 2022. However, the club have allowed him to break his contract early to enable him to be able to chase his dream to play rugby and hopefully break into the All Blacks. But the club has also now allowed him to break the club allowed him to break his contract early, 12 months early. So and now making him break his contract another 6 weeks early before the season's up. The argument is that he should have been made to see out the season.
Yeah, exactly. And the other factor due to that is the injuries. We're going through an unprecedented injury crisis with no less than 12 of our current roster unavailable this week. Can it be viewed as walking out in the biggest time of need, like to get 17 players fit on the field this weekend? We couldn't even name a full 22. We got a couple of development guys in there as well. So that's a valid point.
And the other thing is the team mentality. Can it almost be perceived that with 6 games to go and still a mathematical chance of playing finals footy?
That's it. Let's not forget that. Yeah, Jazz said it himself last night. Yep.
Yeah, the club's put a line through the season, put the gear in the rack, written the season off, and basically said, yeah, okay, you can go home.
Yeah, it's a bit of a dangerous message to be sending to the fans and supporters, I suppose, and also the young guys in the squad like your Reece Walshes, Rocco Berries, Otokolos, these guys who are just super grateful to be given an opportunity in first grade. And when you've got, it can be interpreted as when the going gets tough, don't worry, you can just walk away. And his teammates who would hold him, obviously, in such high regard, start to think that perhaps he is walking out when they need his leadership the most. It is possibly a valid argument. Yeah,
and I mean, if you get on the social media posts, it's become a polarizing thing, similar to the re-signing of Sean Johnson. It's there's no one's down the middle line. Everyone's either or totally against it. I've listened to a couple of podcasts today, just getting some other what would you call it? Points of view from other people, basically, just to see what others are saying. And it's completely different depending on who you listen to. There's some that are totally for his decision. There's some that are 100% against it, which it's a shame in that respect to see him bow out the way that he is, I guess. Yeah, it's my personal opinion on that, though, is I support Roger on his decision because I'm not living his life. I'm not in his shoes. I don't live in his conditions with his consequences, and no man can fault another man for the decisions he makes for the good of his family and himself. After what he's been through in the past 2 seasons, he's entitled to be a little bit selfish and make decisions for his best interests. Yes, I would have preferred to have seen him play out the last 6 games of the season, but he has decided to leave, and it now gives those who remain to carry the torch for him, as he has done so many times on so many occasions in the past few seasons. So personally, I wish Roger nothing but best wishes for his future successes, for him and his family, and I'll continue to stay in contact with him and follow his journey. How about you, mate? What's your thoughts on this?
Yeah, look. My take on it's a little bit complex. My initial reaction was, mate, he deserves it. He's been through a lot the last 2 years, particularly last year without the family. He chose to stay, as we touched on before. He chose to stay when he could have gone home early last year. And I thought, I don't know, you know what? He's been a great servant to the club, a wonderful captain, just a awesome bloke. And I thought, you know, there's no one who deserves it more. Then I sort of thought about it, and like you said, I tried to get a more rounded view of it as well. I listened to quite a few podcasts. We probably listened to the same ones as well. And yeah, and the one thing that was stuck in my mind was, well, what does the club get anything out of this? It seemed a little bit strange that, considering the injury crisis and the lack of personnel, that we would let our best player and our captain, one of our most experienced players, leave 6 weeks early when, let's face it, we're struggling. We can't even get a 22-man squad together. And my thought was, well, what does the club get out of this? There must be, I thought, well, maybe there's something that we're missing here. There's another element in the equation that hasn't been brought forward that maybe the public doesn't need to be made aware of. And I did start to sort of sway, and listening to Paul Kent, and I'm actually a pretty big fan of Paul Kent. I know he's another polarizing figure, and listening to him, and I guess I get that a lot of people were angry at what he said, and I understand that Paul Kent never ever takes anything family related into his consideration when he's discussing the players leaving. I mean, obviously, he doesn't understand the different dynamics of the Polynesian families and everything, and so how closely tight-knit they are. And, so, I mean, I agreed somewhat with what he said, and the comment about, well, he has a contract, and he's very well paid as well. So, having said all that, you know what? I'm still fine. I'm still fine with it. He has... As you said, he has done his time. He's been a wonderful servant to the club, great player, led by example, and he's toughed it out. He's done his time in the trenches, and you know what? I've got no problem with him going home, saying all that.
No, we had this discussion off air about there must be something behind the scenes that we're just not being told, because the press of the day was just so... it was like a superficial type of thing. There was no real depth to what was going on. It was all about, he's got to get home, blah, blah, blah. This is his only opportunity. And they did bring up the rugby thing, but not in great detail or context. And it wasn't until Jazz said what he said last night that kind of made it make sense a little bit more, of why he has to get back sooner rather than later to give him this opportunity that he's been afforded by New Zealand Rugby.
My counter argument to that, though, would be, why should we care what he's going to do in rugby? Why should the Warriors be trying to help him out with his rugby career? I mean, I know that sounds a little bit harsh. That didn't come across the best, but not to say that they don't care about what he does in his rugby career. But at the same time, he's still contracted to the Warriors.
100%. 100%.
It's just interesting that the rugby side of it would factor into it at all. That was what I would question. Yeah.
I guess the Warriors allowing him to leave early and not have a problem with it is for not the stuff, the 80 minutes that the fans get to see every week on the field. It's all those minutes spent behind the scenes of the stuff that he sacrifices and does for the club. And their thank you to him is, look, you've been giving an opportunity here. We are not going to stand in your way. You can go with our blessing. and thank you very much for everything you've done. Not just the 80 minutes that fans to see and criticise on a weekly basis, but the however many minutes there are in the rest of the week that he spent in lockdown with his teammates. They're thanking him for that's their thank you to him for letting him go, and the club isn't getting anything in return except for the fact that Roger Tuivasa-Sheck has played at our club, has been our captain. He's been able to mentor some of these young kids through. Reece Walsh spending another 6 weeks with Roger would have been fantastic, but this is the reality that we're living in, and it doesn't matter what people's opinions are of the situation. It's happened. He's on a plane tomorrow.
That's it.
And we wish him luck.
Yeah, absolutely. After having said all that, I'll just echo those thoughts. We wish him all the best. Yep. Absolute champion bloke. Another interesting point around Roger is, mate, Hammer, you were at his debut game for the Warriors. The round one, 34-26, lost the West Tigers at Campbelltown in 2016.
Yep.
And I was actually at his final game for the Warriors, the round 18 loss, the 30-16 to the Panthers at Suncorp 2 weeks ago. So there you go. And we were both at his 100th game for the Warriors, the round 6 victory over the Dragons at Strata Jubilee Stadium this year. So isn't that a bit freaky?
That's very fair. I remember that game very vividly. I took my daughter Katana to that game. It was another one of those classic come from behind points run down from the Warriors, but a late James Tedesco try got the Tigers home to bury us. But after the game, it was pretty special because Jim Doyle was over here for that game, and Shontaine Harpy had just taken over the membership role at the Warriors, so he was here as well. And they were sitting with us in, I think we had 2 supporters base sold out at Campbelltown. The Warriors came over the stands at the end of the game. We performed a mass impromptu haka for the team. Got great pics of that day. It was, it was good memories. It was a great day that day in terms of the experience. Sonny Kapua, you guys need to stop going to live games. Never.
Oh, you want us to take that hit?
Yeah. So,
Look, to finish off the discussion, I just want to, again, thank Roger for the time he's given us, particularly this season with his time after the games. And you've been fortunate to develop a good relationship with him this season, Hammer.
Yeah, I've been very lucky, mate. Not just him, but a lot of the Warriors within that environment, not just players, but team officials and management as well. But from that round 1 game, when we asked him for a pick when he came out, and we introduced ourselves to him as Ruin Hammer, and he says, "Oh yeah, yep. Ruin Hammer, I know you guys." And we're kind of tickled pink because at that stage we hadn't had a lot of to do with the team. And then after that game, every game as he walked from the field, he'd find me in the crowd, to me like out the back, like he'd point out the back, and I'd go out the back and wait for him to come out of the sheds, and he'd come straight over before he'd head off and be mobbed by the autograph hunters, and he'd just have a candid, informal 5-6 minute chat, and most times about things other than footy, just talking about family and life in that COVID environment and so forth. So. I got to know him quite well in that respect, as you can somebody, in short burst conversations, but he's a truly humble man. Great memories of Rog.
Yeah, I've got a personal favourite memory of him, and that was in the 2017 game on the Gold Coast, where my lovely wife Cleo was lucky enough to win the Lucky Door Prize, which was 2 return flights to New Zealand to go to a game of our choice that year. And Roger actually presented her with the prize. And when we actually got over to New Zealand for the game, I was lucky enough to do the coin toss on the field. TK will remember this because it was the first time I'd met him. And as soon as we walked out onto the field, he was just like, "It's the Gold Coast guys." And that was unbelievable because he'd remembered us. And we were just blown away, and he was we posed for photos with him on the field before the game, and we did the coin toss. And then afterwards, when we went back into the gym later on, he was just it just summed him up. His attention to detail. He didn't have to remember that we had won that competition. He didn't even have to acknowledge us, but he went out of his way to do that. I'll never forget it. It's still the profile pic on my Facebook because it was just such a wonderful moment. What about yourself?
Mate, I've got a couple of field moments and then another personal one like you have. Like for me, on his golden point try against the Roosters at Central Coast Stadium in 2016, I think that was round 5. I was there for that game. That solo try that he scored against the Cowboys in 2018 when he stood up Michael Morgan and scored under the post. His tackle on Alec round 1 in 2018 to deny a try. The first time we beaten, I think that was over in Perth. It was the first time we won in Perth. It was a round 1 win, which is very rare in a Warriors jersey.
And a win over the Rabbitohs, which he's up to this week.
Obviously a medal award, and then the haka that followed from Bully Jazz and Jordan Rapana that day. But probably the personal one that gives me a kick because it really made my daughter get all those feel-good, funny vibes about it was when we went and watched him play his 100th game at Netstrata Stadium this year. And we were outside and we were chatting to most of the players as they walked out and getting on the bus. And when he was walking out, he was being mobbed by fans. And we could see him about 50 metres in. And my daughter Katana had never actually met him. And like all games, she was kind of asking us, do you know the players? Do you know the players? And as they're coming out and talking to us, and she's getting photos, she's a bit tickled pink. Yeah. And then Roger's kind of spotted us, and he's looked up, he's waved like that, and he's kind of made a beeline straight for us. And my daughter just standing there going, oh my God, Dad, Roger knows who you are.
He's that guy from the TV.
That's probably a memory. That's probably a memory that'll stay with me for a long, long time. He's been great, mate. We're truly gonna miss him. And selfishly, I hope that his rugby career is a lot like Benji's, and we see him back in a Warriors jersey sooner rather than later.
In 6 months' time. Oh. we wouldn't jinx him that badly. We do hope he goes well and gets to fulfill his dream, lifelong boyhood dream of representing the All Blacks. He's been a wonderful servant to the game, an ambassador for the game. And as you just said, I hope he hasn't been lost to the game forever. But I do like to think that we will see him back in the Warriors jersey again at some point.
Oh, I hope so.
Towards the end of his career, fairy tale return. Maybe he can have the longevity of Benji's career as well. Wouldn't that be awesome?
That'd be good. That'd be awesome, wouldn't it? Yeah, let him go do his rugby dream. Go win a World Cup with the All Blacks. Come back.
Come back and bring us a premiership. How about that?
Yeah.
Rog, deal. Yeah, we'll lock that in.
Yep. Sunny
all right, mate. Exactly. I think it's time to rip this bloody Band-Aid off. Let's get into the review of last week's dismal loss to the Rabbitohs.
If we must.
What do you reckon? Yeah, got to do what you got to do. I took the 2-hour drive with the Sean Star. Well, I should say Sean. I was lucky enough to be driven by Sean to the game from Brisbane to the Sunshine Coast to watch the boys play. And, mate, it was an absolutely punishing watch. The Rabbits with a late change to the serial killer, Campbell, Dexter Graham, ruled out due to concussion protocols, and one game warrior Tane Mill into the centres covered his spot. And the Warriors had no changes to the 17. Big AFB leading the side for the first time as captain. Joining some illustrious names that have led our club admirably. And DWZ, the ultimate sacrifice to forego the birth of his third child in Sydney on Friday to stay in camp and the team in their time of need due to the injury crisis. So big props to him for that.
Yeah, I imagine at the end of the game, mate, it would have been a punishing drive home.
It sure was, wasn't it, Sean?
The Warriors had a really good. The Warriors had a good first set with Matt Lodge having 2 really early carries. Cody finding the grass with his first kick of the game, which, to be honest, has been a rarity for the Warriors this season. Subsequent sets that we had were relatively even between both sides before Adam Reynolds earned a forced dropout, and that's something that he's been doing quite regularly for the Rabbitohs this year. That was something that we needed to be a lot better at stopping last weekend. We did put a 70-meter dropout on from that dropout, that forced dropout, which put pressure on the Rabbits' attack, and then they tried to shift the ball left, which resulted in a drop ball, and then DWZ swooped on the ball, ran 45 metres to score his first try in Warriors colours. A nice little post-try celebration there into the camera for his wife and new baby at home. And the chosen one, Reece Walsh, nailing the sideline conversion for an early 6-0 lead. And I must admit, at this point, I was feeling very optimistic.
And it was about this point in time when I turned to Sean and said, you know what one of our weaknesses is? Not completing a set after points. And we got through to the fifth tackle, all right, some strong carries. And then, unfortunately, the chosen one puts it out in the full, nullifying all advantage that we'd had there. Rabbitohs began their set around halfway, signifying that the rot was about to start. Yep. A repeat set, and the Rabbitohs camped on our line, and Tom Burgess was a very, very soft try off a basic crash play. But the previous play of the ball from Cam Murray was dusty at absolute best, very questionable. He didn't get to his feet to play the ball. We even saw that at the game. It's a penalty every day of the week. Wasn't blowing.
Jazz spoke about it last night.
Yes. And then to compound that, Walshy, the golden boy, the chosen one, kicks out in the full from the restart, and this puts the Warriors under absolute pressure again. Rabbitohs starting their set deep in the Warriors' half. Yeah,
mate, they did. They put the ball out in the touch, and then they start to pile on the points. Just a shift, a basic 4-on-3 play created by Cody Walker gets Jackson Paulo over in the right corner. Tom Burgess got his second try of the match from another crash play. Damien Cook darting out a dummy half and turning Burgess under on the inside. The South's tries were extremely soft, with the Warriors' defence in real stark contrast to what we saw against Penrith the previous week. South's having all the momentum, working the ball well through their sets, and fucking Nostradamus.
Sorry, mate. Sorry for being right. maybe one day I'll get something good right. You know, like, we're going to win the premiership this year.
Mate, that's not Nostradamus. That's what's that? That's just losing your head. I just thought the Rabbitohs kicking game was just pinpoint. Reynolds and Cody Walker, their kicking game was on point. They kept turning us into a corner or getting repeat sets. It was, it was just sad.
It was. And to make things worse, the merchandise was knocked off the shelf. Got his head in an awkward position trying to effect a tackle on Toddy Payton's love child, Mark Nichols. He got absolutely sandwiched between the love child and Matty Lodge. So, yeah, that didn't look good. He looked extremely dusty and, as a result, out this week. He sent for an HIA, Eli Katoa, into the game earlier than anticipated. Rabbitohs with dead set all the ball and all the running, keeping the pressure on the Warriors' defence before Cam Murray is deemed to have lost the ball and to play the ball before getting to his feet in a similar incident to the ball, the first Rabbits try that was let go, highlighting the inconsistencies in the refereeing during the game. It's probably just a square up, but, it could have come, they could have got it right the first time.
That's what I mean. How's it a square up when they get a converted try out of the first one and then we get a penalty on our 20? Yeah,
exactly.
The Warriors did look to try and shift the momentum with the ball in hand. Again, our kicking game just let us down. I question why Walsh is doing all the general play kicking with Townsend and Cody both on the field. It's a massive what's the word I'm looking for? Responsibility that they're putting on Walsh's shoulders.
Probably doesn't need it at the moment for such a young guy. Yeah.
Isn't that why we bought Townsend on the short-term deal, was to control our games? Anyway, South just continue to roll downfield. They earn repeat sets, and Latrell Mitchell with just a freakish pass, despite heavy defence all around him, hits Cameron Murray for a next try next to the posts. And then it's a Latrell Mitchell run down the right channel that sets the Rabbits up for a try to Cody Walker under the posts.
Yeah, that's right. It's not looking good. Eli Katoa leaves the field for HIA at the same time. Jack Murchie was confirmed to have failed his. And the Hood, your man, the Hood, Leeson Armour comes into the action. The Rabbitohs continue their dominance with Jaden Sewer scoring off an Adam Reynolds short ball ridiculously easily, whilst through pretty much untouched. Yep. And the Warriors with absolutely no answers to the questions being asked them and needing to stiffen up their defence if we had any chance of making a game of it at halftime. And a rare Rabbitohs mistake, and we get a rare set inside the 20 metres with the scrum. AFB goes close and the shift to the right and the poor pass equaled by, some equally bad handling. Sees us turn over the ball cheaply without being able to build any pressure at all. Big problem. Massive problem.
Yeah, absolutely. But a rare kick error from South, whether they put the ball out dead. We get a 7-tackle set. Cody hits Adam Pompey running through a hole, who finds Chatty Townsend. Support pass to Hectic Montoya, who did the hectic juggling backward running act.
Wasn't that hectic? Wasn't that just a classic Montoya try? The baby giraffe Montoya try.
To score a much needed try. A great set after points with Cody fighting Dallin at pace down the right sideline. He turns it, finds Cody back in support on the inside. And all of a sudden, again, I'm buoyed because the Warriors are back in the contest. We go in at 34-16 down, but we finished off well. We finished the half off well, but we are down to 15 to start the second half with confirmation Eli Katoa fails his HIA as well.
Yeah, well, mate, any spark or hint of a comeback was extinguished very early in that second half. The Rabbitohs came out full of running. Again, we had no answers to them. Jaden Sewer just powering over. Again, another ridiculously soft try, carrying the Golden Child and the Hood over the line.
Yep.
Mate, you could see it. Souths were just surging upfield, 70 to 80 metres every time they had the ball, and we just couldn't contain them. We just couldn't keep them pinned on their own half. We just didn't have the line speed. They were just powering through us. We're able to stop the Rabbitohs from scoring for multiple sets, but the weight of possession is South's favour, and the inevitable happens when the source, Josh Mansour, scoring in the left corner, and then Jaden Sewer goes close to his first ever hat-trick, held up over the line, and the next play, the ball gets the Rabbitohs, shift to the dangerous left side, and Mansour gets the easiest double he'll probably get in his career.
Absolutely. It was soft is the only word you can use, and I understand, from what Jazz was saying last night, sometimes you start looking at the scoreboard and then you start trying harder, and the harder you try, the worse things become. It's like quicksand. You're trying to get yourself out, but you're just digging yourself a deeper hole, and I get that happens. For us, though, it happens way too often. A rare Latrell Mitchell mistake gave the Warriors an extremely rare set inside the Rabbits' 25-metre zone. But as per usual, the set ends predictably with a ball handling error that his captain's challenged, but the video ref deems Jazz to have lost the ball forward rather than stripped. And I think that was just a classic, we need a rest here, kind of, let's stop play for a minute, we're going to challenge this.
Strategic challenge.
Yeah. AFB becomes the third retirement of the game for the Warriors, leaving the field with 25 minutes to go with that compound fracture to his finger. I did see the vision of that on Instagram. It was ugly. You could actually see down to the bone in his hand.
Oh, wasn't that awful?
Yeah.
Horror show.
Matt Lodge with a much-needed one-on-one strip gets the Warriors another set inside the South hut, but 2 plays later, a forced pass from the very same man gives the ball straight back to South. And that was that summed up our afternoon quite well.
Mate, that summed up the last probably month. Although we were totally outclassed, though, we did manage to peg one back with a great sort of kick inside from Chatty Townsend for the Golden Child to score under the sticks. But what about the attention from Latrell afterwards? Like, where's the 8-point try?
Yeah.
It's just grubby stuff. So that gets us up to 22 points. Poor handling again in the set after points, though. Surprise, surprise. turn the ball over cheaply, and we just can't build any pressure whatsoever. It's a massive issue, especially with the Rabbitohs marching upfield and Kolomatangi crashing over on the fifth tackle, like untouched, like pretty much a man of his size going over untouched. And then the subsequent set sees Latrell Mitchell put the Warriors to the sword with a well-earned try. And then didn't he carry on a bit afterwards? And the Rabbits with the ball in hand closed the game out, earned forced dropout. The Warriors went out in the full, and look, it just summed it up.
It kind of put we put the ball out on the full for them to start their points. Ball out on the full at the end of their point scoring.
Symmetry.
Yeah, it was like, there you go, that's it. South with their seventh win in a row. Us, our seventh loss in a row. Look, for all the accolades that he gets, Reece Walsh's kicking game was very problematic. His first kick went out. Fifth tackle kick went out on the full. His first kickoff went out on the full. I said it before. They were big momentum shift in the Rabbitohs' favour, those two things. Chad Townsend really should have stepped up and taken control of that kicking game and general play direction. That's what he was brought to the club to do, on a short-term deal. Failure to do so, for me, it's resulted in that lopsided first half that leaked 34 preventable points. Obviously, the defensive game wasn't good enough. I'm not saying that it was. I'm not saying that Chad Townsend's kicking game would have changed the defense, but Chad Townsend's kicking game would have kept us in the game a little bit longer. It was just poor. It didn't exist in all season, and it doesn't seem to change no matter who we put in there.
It was like a poison chalice type thing.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Mate, there's some interesting stats from this game. Let me share them with you, and you can throw them up on the screen for everyone.
Okay, let's have a look.
Because it truly was a one-sided affair.
Look at that possession. That's what sticks out.
Yeah. South had 67 possession to our 33. You're never going to win a game of footy. You look at the sets. South completed 35 sets. We completed 20. That's 15 sets more with the ball. Look at the run meters. 2,355. We didn't crack 1,000. Didn't crack 1,000 run meters in a game of footy. It was just such a one-sided affair. Which, where was the other? There was another stat. Turn meters.
The stats really tell the story of the match, don't they? Sometimes they can be misleading, but mate, you look at this, and you can see why we got absolutely pounded.
Yeah, absolutely. Tackles made 383 to 236. That's 150 more tackles.
Yeah, post-contact meters more massive as well.
Yeah. It just wasn't good enough. And I'm not saying this was by any to do with the lopsided stats was anything to do with the referees. This was basically us killing ourselves because of our poor defense. That's pretty much what it come down to. All those attacking stats in South's favour was as a result of us not being able to control our sets, control the ball, and defensively we
couldn't handle them physically. They were shrugging off one-on-one tackles every time. We weren't putting the man down. They're getting offloads. They were making meters, post-contact meters. We just couldn't handle them. As you said, every single set they were surging upfield. And then we're under pressure, running the ball back from our own line. I don't know. We just couldn't match them physically.
No, Ciala makes a good point. He said Townsend's been nursing his shoulder injury on the last 2 games. I'm aware of that, which begs the question: why the hell has he been playing then? If he's not 100% and he's the man that's supposed to be steering us around, then find somebody else. Sean O'Sullivan. I mean, this may be a unpopular opinion, but I have thought Sean O'Sullivan has been too bad for us when he's played. He's a man of he's had very little first grade experience because he's been in and out of
he's
systems.
limited. He has his limitations, but he doesn't. I mean, he doesn't do too much wrong, if that makes any sense. He's not dynamic.
No.
But he has a crack, you know. He doesn't go missing.
Mate, I can remember the game that I went and watched the Warriors play against Canberra when we were down by a significant margin and came back to win that game. Now, I was sitting in the Warriors supporters bay, and in the second half, that's where Canberra were running to score their points or trying to score their points. And there was a couple of times where Canberra got forced dropouts. Sean O'Sullivan was literally barking at the Warriors players to get their asses up off the ground and get in position for quick dropouts because he was trying to take advantage of the Raiders tiring in because they had no subs. Now, to me, I even said to Carlos when we were there, I said, have a go at O'Sullivan, like trying to rally the troops. To me, that was, that showed a lot of...
for his first game for the club as well. Yeah.
Exactly. And I've seen it before. He's quite vocal when he's out on the field. I like O'Sullivan as a halfback, and I think O'Sullivan as a halfback this week is going to be a good inclusion for us. And we'll get to that when, the teams are discussed later on. But it's, Walsh kicks 2 balls dead. Come on. Yeah, he does kick 2 balls dead. He's also, and like I said, Reece Walsh, ball in hand, is electrifying and dynamic. Reece Walsh defending, not so good. He's an easy target for bigger men.
Smaller body.
He consistently, the problem is too, he consistently tries to go high, and it was no more evident than last week when he was trying to tackle Jaden Sewer, and the week before, 2 weeks ago when he tried to tackle Braden Hamlin-Ueli.
That's right. And, he literally just tried to jump on, and he literally got carried over the line and fell off. He's not gonna be able to make those kind of tackles, and nor should it be up to him either.
No, Christian's just jumped on. Wow, new graphics. Well, we're moving up in the world, brother.
That's right.
Yeah, that's right. That key stat of those 977 total run meters for the game. Dallin 155 and Lodge 107. The only 2 men over 100, but 2 men consistent of 20-something% of our run meters. So just absolutely ridiculous. Curran with 51 tackles, Serenum with 41.
They tried hard. Curran tried hard. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, they did. I'm not saying that these guys aren't trying, but it's just it's hard to put a finger on what's going wrong when you look at the defensive effort against the Panthers compared to the defensive effort against the Rabbitohs.
Yeah, it's chalk and cheese. And what's happened in 1 week. And I know that we did lose players again. We're down to 1 man on the bench, but that effort was far from repeated.
Yes. The Warriors 2021 statistics, just at a glance. So we've played 18 games. We've had 5 wins and 13 losses. We've had 8 losses by 6 points or less. 3 of those losses by 1 point. 8 times we've scored 20 points or more in a game. Only 8 times this season. 8 times this season, our opponents have scored 30 points or more. And then there was that one time where the Cowboys scored 29 in that 29-28 victory.
Yeah,
so just short of 30. Even the Tigers, when we beat the Tigers, that was only a 30-26 scoreline. So it was nearly another 30-point scoreline against us. 10 times this year we've either led or been equal at halftime, and we've only gone on to win 5 of those games. The 5 we lost were by 4 points to the Knights, 1 point to Manly, 1 point to the Cowboys, 6 points to Manly, and 1 point to the Dragons. So all those close games, they're all close games that we could have won. We've won no games.
Doesn't that tell a different story? If we get all those wins, doesn't that tell a different story? Puts us like 10 wins, 13 losses, and we're right in the mix. We're probably favourites to go in there with our run home. We're probably favourites to sneak into that final spot.
Yeah, we've had 0 games won. 0 games won when we've been losing at halftime. That's a key stat. Regardless of whether it's by 2 points or whatever, we're down at halftime. 0 points. 0 wins.
Well, look, mate, I'm pretty keen to put that one behind us. should we get on to some of the other games that went on round 19?
I guess we could do that, mate. So what we have Thursday night, we had Canberra 12 versus Parramatta 10. Now, this was Thursday night at Seabus Stadium. Both teams without their players, Mitch Moses for the Eels, Jack Whiten for the Raiders. We saw the return of Blake Ferguson to the first grade team for the first time since round 12. And young Will Penasini making his debut, a player with huge raps on him. And there is definitely a nickname in there coming. Just give us time. Ricky Stewart opting to start Big Puppy, Josh Papali'i from the bench. Joseph Tarpanay promoted to the run-on side. Mate, for me, this was an awesome game of footy. Built on brutal defence. Parramatta had most of that attack in the opening 25 minutes in the Raiders' half. But the Raiders just held tough with some really resilient defence, particularly on their own line.
Yeah, the Raiders with limited opportunities in the Eels' half, mainly due to unforced handling errors and the like. But they started to build pressure in the back end of that half. The kicking game from both sets of halves was very good for both teams, and they found the grass more often than not getting good meters.
Oh yeah.
Daddy's boy, nickname alert. Daddy's boy, Jacob Arthur in particular, kept the pressure on the Raiders with well-placed bombs and his grubbers, continually earning repeat sets.
Yeah,
Daddy's
Josh Hodgson. Yeah, Daddy's boy. Josh Hodgson assumed that ball-playing role for the Raiders that was synonymous with their grand final charge in 2019. Now with what's his name, Georgie Williams gone. Yep. Sam Williams too, for me, has really risen to the challenge since George Williams' departure, and he's been playing some really quality footy for the past few weeks for the Raiders. The Raiders' line speed in defence was really put the Eels' attack under pressure. It was semi-final-like defensive display from the Raiders and 0-0 at half-time. It's the first scoreless half in an NRL game since round 1 between Newcastle and Cronulla in 2019.
2019, I was going to say. Yeah. Seems like ages ago.
It was a great half of footy, some really good attacking phases from both teams, but it was the physicality of the defence that was the highlight of that extremely entertaining half of footy.
Yeah, all the points, though, did come in the second half, and the Raiders got the first try with Corey Harawira-Naira and Rapana getting the second try. Rapana, sorry, I should say.
Yep.
Croker's conversion of the Rapana try gets him equal Thurston on all-time point scorers list. That's a great effort from old frowny face.
Yeah, I think he's third now. Third with I think he's just got. It'd be Haslam and Cam Smith.
Yeah,
in front of him,
mate. Yeah, mate. I'm up there at about third, I think. Yeah.
Parra hit back with tries to Dylan Brown, set up by that great Blake Ferguson kick return. And then Mike Acevo with the bunker failing to identify Dylan Brown was clearly
I could not believe that. What were they watching?
No.
Were they watching bloody Home Alone or something?
Rants coming in the set of sticks about that one. The Raiders do withstand a mountain of pressure from the Eels, who had a few sets back-to-back via repeat sets and forced dropouts. But the Raiders' defensive pressure, absolutely incredible. So much physicality and venom in their defence and their goal line resilience. And Jordan Rapana with a night out playing out of position at fullback, 262 run meters, 16 tackles, 16 tackle breaks, 2 line breaks and a try. So, yeah, great result for the Raiders.
Yeah, they seem to be surging ahead. That one of those 7th or 8th spot looks to be theirs to lose. First up Friday, though, we had the Roosters 28 over the Knights 8, and this game was taken to Sunshine Coast Stadium. The Knights headed into this game on the back of some indifferent form, very patchy, very mixed, and the Roosters with the return of Tedesco and Taukiaho. And Caleb Ponga with a sternum injury in the warm-up required a needle, and it was obvious that, he was struggling with that. Needed that to dull the pain, but the Knights with some very early momentum and attack pressure, and Jacob Saff with a crash play got an early try, and the Roosters' bad luck with injuries, it just continues, losing Billy Smith and Matt Ikavalu to game-ending injuries in the first half. Some more injuries for their mounting toll, and the Knights seem to have all the momentum though. However, it's the Roosters who go into the halftime break, and I think this was crucial. 10-8 leaders after tries to Tupanua and the wonder kid Joey Manu.
Yeah, Joey Manu's been outstanding for them this year. And that's why there's so much hype and talk about him, as a possible target for the Warriors for 2023 and beyond. The second half was an arm wrestle between both teams, but the Knights really not capitalising on the better field position they had. The Roosters scored via the giraffe Daniel Tupu to extend the lead midway through the second half. The Wonder Kid had to shift to the wing due to the injuries and showed his innate abilities creating opportunities. But Tedesco really came to life in the final 20 minutes. He set up a try for Lachlan Lamb. He offloaded, finding a rampaging Satili Tupanua, who scored his second try. And that was followed up by the iconic 10-pin bowling try celebration. And then the Tedesco masterclass continued with Teddy putting Lord Angus Crichton in for a late try.
Nickname alert. We need a sound for that. We need a buzzer.
Yeah, we do. Like nickname alert. Nickname alert.
What?
Yeah, so 28-8 win for the Roosters. Tedesco, 172 metres, 3 try assists and 11 tackle breaks. He's starting to find some form again, Teddy, at the right end of the season.
Yeah, absolute masterclass, as you said. The second game on Friday night, probably on first glance, looked to be a bit of a fizzer with the Storm taking on the Cowboys up there in Townsville. Jake Granville, what a surprise move this was. Normally known as a hooker. What is he, about 5'2" or something? He's moved to the fullback position, an odd move by coach and favourite of the show, Toddy Payton. Ex-Tigers junior, Kane Bradley, making his debut for the Cowboys. And Storm looking to equal a club record 15 consecutive wins. We can only dream of that. A lot of anticipation with the return of little puppy, Pappenhausen, nickname alert, and he hasn't played since Magic rounds after again knocked senseless by
Tyrell Fuimaono.
Tyrell Fuimaono. His name escaped me, but we caught live in that game. It was a game where the Storm looked. To be honest, they came out and looked quite flat and a bit off their game, to be honest.
Yeah, they were missing Munster's creativity around the middle and Finucane's defence around that middle third of the field. And it created cohesion problems for the Storm, I think. The Storm were able to do enough to win, but it wasn't a great it was a great effort from the Cowboys, to not capitulate like they have many times during the season. Josh Adokar brought up his 100th NRL try with his double in the game. Cole Feldt brought up his 100th also in that game.
The try sneak. Yeah.
Yeah. The Cowboys kick chase, the Cowboys kick and chase pressure that they put on Nicho Hines all night. He struggled to make any kick return meters. I thought they did that very, very well. They just kicked to a corner, isolated him on an edge, and he really had nowhere to go. And they
took him out of the game. Yeah.
Yeah, they did. The Cowboys' defense kept them well and truly in that contest, and they played with a lot of energy and intensity, and Toddy should be proud of that.
Yeah, certainly should be. Melbourne uncharacteristic handling errors and low energy, and it's been a while since we've seen the Storm rattled like that and sort of that desperate. The Storm went, but having said all that, Storm got their 15th straight win in a row, and the Cowboys really made them work for it, as you said before. And yeah, you got to give a shout out to Jake Granville playing out of position. He was outstanding, filling in a role, doing the job for the Cowboys. He's been named there again this week, so yeah, well done.
Absolutely. Yeah, we were the first game on Saturday. The game after us on Saturday, and we've already discussed that, 60-22.
Yeah, that's enough of that. No more of that.
The game after that was Manly 44 versus Tigers 24. Now, the telecast started with a lot of class from the Tigers. I don't know if anyone watched the Fox League telecast, but they showed a truly special team announcement done by the Tigers. It was all their families in lockdown, like their wives, their partners, their kids, announcing their husbands, partner, father, which I'm sure they would have played that for the boys. And it's just a really touching thing. And
that's awesome. Yeah.
Mate, Carl's a Tigers fan, and I've always had a soft spot for the Tigers. But since I watched that first week of the documentary, the behind the scenes in Tiger Town, and then seeing something like that, I've just got a lot more respect for the Tigers as an organisation. off the field or stuff like that, the inclusivity and stuff that they're doing. So it was a great start to the telecast. Manly at full strength for the first time in a few weeks, looking to send a warning to those teams that were ahead of them on the ladder. I felt the Tigers did well early on to nullify Tommy Turbo's influence in the game. They took him out of the game early, but Tommy Turbo being Tommy Turbo, you've got to be on him for 80. If you give him one sniff, then he's back into the game, and unfortunately for the Tigers, that's what happened. Manly's kicking game from DCE was on point again and helped them build pressure at key points in the game, I thought.
The Tigers did show some fight and tenacity, though, to stay in the contest. Not allowing the dangerous back three to gain any advantage and sort of become a bit of an arm wrestle in that mid stage there of the first half. Both teams, after both teams had scored points, and Manly did get 2 tries late in the second half to lead by 10 at halftime, and then 2 tries after halftime gives the complete control of the game. That was the crucial 20-minute period either side of the break.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was, because the Tigers were up 14-12, I think it was. And then Manly scored those 2 tries and we're out to like 24-14 or something to that effect. But, mate, for me, the Tigers fought hard to stay in the contest. I was particularly impressed with Adam Dewey, who I thought was the Tigers' best. And him back at 6th for the Tigers make the Tigers look like a much better outfit. Congrats to Big Kenny, who scored a double for the Tigers. I think they might have been his first tries in Tigers colours.
They were.
Yeah. It was Manly with another dominant performance on the back of the superstar Tommy Turbo. He ran for 305 metres. He got 1 try, 2 try assists, 9 tackle breaks, 2 line breaks. And when you consider the Tigers had him quiet for 25 minutes, the remaining 55 minutes is just outstanding. So
some silverware up for grabs or something.
Mark Roberts is mentioning Morgan Harper. He's playing great. The Pornhub star. People reckon he looks like Lionel Richie, but I just reckon he looks like, if anyone's seen The Hangover, there's a guy in the lift that was going down on a chick in the lift, and the lift doors open. He stands up. He's got the curly hair and the moustache. That is Morgan Harper. He's a porn star.
He looks a bit like Vince Vaughn's character in Starsky and Hutch. Remember, he's like, this perm costs money. Everything costs money. That's what he reminds me of. Something super retro porno like that. But the game afterwards was another pretty good game, actually. At first glance, you'd think it would have been a bit of a walkover. But Penrith 18 over the Broncos 12. A very competitive Broncos side. James Fisher-Harris played his last game before going on paternity leave, should we say, out of the NRL bubble for the birth of his child.
Yep.
And it was another great game where the heavyweights just came out and looked flat, and it took a long time for them to get on the board. Isaiah Yeo was knocked senseless, an ugly high shot from Thomas Flegler early in the match, and after that, he was missed. His presence was missed on the field noticeably. And surprising to see that the Panthers take the early shot at goal rather than keeping the pressure on a 12-man Broncos at that point too, which maybe suggested that they were not quite feeling themselves.
Yeah, I question that decision too. Like, I mean, I've seen the Panthers take early shots at penalty goal when they get penalties inside opposition halves in other games, but never when they have a 13-on-12 advantage. And I just
the
thought,
Broncos.
Yeah, I just thought that it would have been a great opportunity for him to keep the pressure on and put some points on. But, that to me showed that maybe their heads weren't in that game like they should be. I don't know if they had one eye on the prize of the game following with it because they've got Melbourne coming up this week. But Brisbane showed some real fight with a player in the bin. They put pressure on the Panthers, keeping the Panthers scoreless in that time period, which would have been a massive confidence builder for them. Because you consider how the Panthers have been blowing all comers off the park recently. So, but you're right. Yeah, I think Penrith really missed Isaiah Yeo when he went off the field. And they missed the Cyborg Nathan Cleary. Nickname alert. I saw that. Yeah, and Fun Times Appy. Fun Times Appy Coruscant. Yeah.
This used to be a fun house.
Yeah. I think, and their attack really did look out of sync and failed to fire, really.
Yeah, Brisbane with some uncharacteristically resilient defence for this season to prevent the Panthers from scoring the entire half. Dylan Edwards' important 2-point field goal on stroke of half time. The earlier penalty goal in front was the only other scoring point, so 4-0, a penalty goal and a 40-metre field goal. I can't compliment Brisbane enough, though, on their attitude and application, particularly in defence in that first 40. So credit where credit's due. And maintaining it for 80 minutes was always going to be the big test for them.
That's right, mate. That's right. A weighted possession after halftime to the Panthers. I got the sense that the Broncos would crack. Once Tortor scored that first try, I kind of got the feeling that the Panthers had scored some tries in bunches now. And they did. Stephen Crichton put shit stains over in the corner with a freakish flick pass. And then that loose pass from Luai finds the ground. Corey Oates failed to pick it up cleanly, plays right in the hands of the Panthers, and Crichton picks it up and scores the Panthers' third try. So Brisbane did get a rare opportunity to score, and Brodie Croft threw a forward pass to Reece Kennedy, where if he had held the ball, he would have fallen over the line to score. And I think that just sums up Brodie Croft's headspace at the moment.
Just clear lack of confidence, second guessing.
He's down on confidence. He's trying to do his best to find some form, but just some of his choices are just off. Yes,
indeed. Broncos' efforts are rewarded with a try to Kobe Hetherington of a Reece Kennedy late offload, and then continuing to play with intensity and up-tempo using second phase up the middle from their big men offloading. The faith is rewarded with a try to Ethan Bullimore under the post. He's a big unit, that guy. Broncos threw everything at the Panthers for the second week in a row. The better team against the Panthers lost. And Penrith with a massive 66 missed tackles, and the most this season by any team, allowed the Broncos to stay in the game. But that's telling. The 66 missed tackles didn't end up costing them.
Mate, I'm just adding a new nickname to the nickname list, as suggested by Mark Roberts.
Okay.
Corey Rolled Oats.
Corey Rolled Oats, yeah. We'll pay that, Mark. Yep. Nickname alert.
Yep, I've just added that to the list of nicknames.
Corey Rolled
Oats. Which is growing. Yeah. Mate. For me, Penrith, like Melbourne, look to be fatiguing at the business end of the season. This week's game between the Storm and Panthers will be interesting to see exactly where both teams are at. But in saying that, and we'll get to when we do the team list, but the Panthers, a lot of outs this week, a few additional injuries and suspensions and so forth. And Melbourne look like they're at full strength. So it could be a walk in the park for Melbourne and not a real indication of what will happen in the finals.
That's it, exactly. Probably not what's deserving of a game of that magnitude this late in the season, but it is what it is. And you can only play who's in front of you. If you're Melbourne and Penrith, I mean, they've still got a fair side, as we'll touch on later on. Yeah,
Payne Haas, mate, absolutely massive in a beaten side. 213 metres, 14 tackle breaks, 43 tackles. The guy is just a machine. And to think,
huge motor.
As a front rower, he's at the top end of the echelon of front rowers, and he's still only 20 years old. And they say front rowers don't mature and develop into their, full prowess until they're like mid to late 20s. So it's scary to think how this guy's going to be in a couple of years.
Another decade of dominance from Big Payne, I think. Yes, indeed. Moving on to Sunday, we had the Titans 32 over the Dragons 10. The Dragons going through their second week of rolling suspensions and subbing in and out, and the fallout from the now infamous weekend at Vaughanese. The Titans missing their hardworking halfback Jamal Fogarty through injury, giving young Toby Sexton his NRL debut. There's a nickname in there for sure. I saw his mates in the crowd had Sexy on their shirt, so I'm sure his nickname's Sexy. You don't have a name like Sexton without having an awesome nickname there.
No.
Early points for both teams. Jared Wallace for the Titans, and then the experience of the Dragons' big name players, Dufty Bedbug DeBellin And with the bedbugs bite the melon and Hunt combine to post the Dragons' first points of the game. Bedbugs.
Yeah, bedbugs. The first half was a true arm wrestle. Neither team getting any real dominance or momentum shifts until the enigma himself, David Fafita, decided to get involved, scoring in the corner, running at the smaller men on an edge where he should be. He's held up early in the second half, but then provides a pass for big Greg Marziu to score. The Dragons did try to match the physicality of the Titans, but the Titans' big men really just punching holes in that Dragons' defence up the middle. Jared Wallace scored an extremely rare front rower's double on the back of some sustained attacking pressure, and Toby Sexy Sexton gets his first NRL try on the back of the momentum shift to the Titans. So,
It was a very sexy try, that one. Dragons, although sitting 7th on the ladder, were totally outclassed and outmuscled by a determined Titans team that made their intentions known from the outset. It's the first time the Titans have beaten a top 8 team all season. So there you go. And the win puts the Titans on 16 points and only 2 points behind the 7th place Sharks and the 8th place Dragons and 9th place Raiders, all on 18. And that race to the final 2 spots of the top 8 heats up.
Yeah, I truly believe everyone's fighting for one spot. I think the Raiders have one spot tied up. They seem to be the team that's in the best form of those sides fighting for the 8. So I think the Raiders will make it, and I can see the Dragons and the Sharks both dropping out. We'll get to the table in a minute.
Especially with Sean Johnson out. Yeah.
The final game of the round was the Sharks 44 versus the Bulldogs 24. Final game of the round, crucial game for the Sharks. They needed to win this to stay in top 8 contention. Bulldogs were coming off the back of some really good form and looking to make a mark in the back end of the season, especially after Gus Gould's ultimatum during the week of, okay, I'm wiping the slate clean of everything that's happened so far this season, and these last 7 weeks, you guys, you're playing for a roster spot for next season. So he's put the onus back on the players. Yep, you're all on notice. The Sharks went close in their first set with Sione Katoa out with his outstanding acrobatics, nearly getting the ball down in the corner for a try. The Bulldogs did defend well against the Sharks side, building pressure through repeat sets. But the weight of possession is too much, and Sean Johnson finds Sione Katoa with a great face ball for a try in the corner. The Sharks continue their relentless pressure, and your mate, Pre-Jack Mulatalo, scored in the opposite corner, followed by his customary over-the-top premiership-winning premiership-winning celebrations.
Yeah. Every try is a premiership for Pre-Jack, I'll tell you. The Bulldogs did get a shift in momentum, though, and they find themselves camped on the Sharks line. They had 3 consecutive sets. Luke Thompson, who had a great game, scores from the crash play. He's in great form. Despite the try there are concerns for the Dogs with their young halves. They're really not controlling the game. The Sharks' red zone and not playing with enough patience. And a dropped ball on the kick return from Dylan Napa. And a sin binning of Luke Thompson for a late hit. And the Sharks, with all the momentum in their favour, the Sharks take advantage of 13 on 12 and score tries to Sione Katoa, Bubba Kennedy, and Conrad Hurrell's twin, Sophia Talakai, take a 36 lead at halftime. Have you seen him and Connie Hurrell in the same room together? Has anyone seen them in the same room together? No. I'm going to say they're the same. They're the same bloke. Play the same.
There's no room big enough to fit them. Yeah,
I was going to say they play exactly the same, right? Yeah.
Yeah. A cruel blow 5 minutes before halftime sees our newest signing, Sean Johnson, pull up with what looks like a hamstring injury and ruled him out of the remainder of the contest, and we've since been told that he's going to spend the next 8 weeks on the sideline. So that's him done and dusted in a Sharks jersey, I would say. The Bulldogs with tries to Nick Meaney and Dylan Napa after the break fight their way back into the contest. The Sharks withstood some more pressure from the Bulldogs, but a poor kick gives the Sharks a 7-tackle set, and Wish Drogo scores on the back of a good set. Connor Tracy scores the final try of the game to take the Sharks out past 40 points and keep them in that 7th on the ladder. As you said earlier, mate, Luke Thompson in a beaten side, a mammoth effort. And the Bulldogs with games against the Titans, Tigers, Warriors, Knights, Broncos, and Tigers again are still capable of avoiding the wooden spoon, I think.
They have a real shot of dodging the old spoon, doing the old Matrix play.
Mate, I'll share the ladder with you if you want to throw that up for
Sure.
everyone to
Let's
have a look at.
Because we can, you know.
Because we can do this stuff.
Because
now,
we can do these things.
Very, very good. Yep.
And afterwards, everyone's favourite segment coming up.
Yeah. So there you have it. The Storm leading the comp on 34 with the Panthers. Storm ahead on for and against with a massive 438 plus points differential. Rabbitohs in third. Eels, Roosters, and Sea Eagles. And I think those six teams are all safe for semi-final football. Then you've got the Chasm. Another, 6 points to the Sharks in seventh on 18. Dragons 18. Raiders on 18 on for and against, just out of the 8. Titans 16, Knights 16, Tigers 14, Cowboys 14, us on 12, Broncos on 10, and the Bulldogs on 6. Now, as I said before, I'm going to make a bold prediction. I think the Raiders are specials to finish in that top 8, taking up 7th or 8th. And my money, based on whose various teams runs home, is I think the Tigers will be the team that find their way into the 8.
Tigers,
yeah, mate. They've got some winnable games coming up. As I said, they play the Bulldogs twice. They play us. I think they've got the Broncos. I don't think they've got anyone in the top. Have you got anyone in the top 8, Carl? South, yeah. South.
Comments from the Super Coach.
Yeah. Comments from the Super Coach. Yeah, so I'm on the Tigers to make a run for the 8, and I think they can do it. So
yeah, I definitely see the Raiders in there. I think it'll be for me out of
another one.
Titans, between the Titans and the Sharks. The Sharks can win without Sean Johnson. Then I think they're a real strong chance to hold their spot. I just don't know because they were struggling before he came back from injury this year, and he was kind of the catalyst for their turn in form. So,
well, that's the thing, isn't it? The Sharks, backroom director, the Sharks and the Dragons they're in the box seat at the moment, so it's their spot in the 8 to lose.
Theirs to lose. Yeah.
But I think at the end of this week, and I can't think off the top of my head who's playing who, but I think, regardless of who's playing who, I think I tipped. Against the Sharks anyway, and I've definitely tipped against the Dragons, and I've tipped the Raiders. So I think the Raiders will be in 7th at the end of this weekend.
Yep.
I'll just have to wait and see. Yeah.
All right, it's time for everyone's favourite segment. Let's have a look. What do we got here? It's time for the set of 6.
Warning, incoming rants. We need some. We do need some production music, I think.
Yeah, we'll get onto that.
Mark Roberts says, "Is Juan tainting your thinking because of lockdown hammer? You've been spending too much time together that he's tainting it because I'm on the Tigers. Nah, mate, I know my footy. I am on medication. That's true. Yeah.
How about
I did have the first COVID shots. Amazing new setup, boys. Yeah, that came through as Ruin Hammer on mine.
Sounds like my biggest fan.
Probably is."
All right, as we said, it is time for a set of 6, set of rants, whatever you want to call it. You have been warned. Here comes the ranting. We're going to kick it off this week with the $1 million men in the game. Has there ever been a season or a period of the game where we've seen so many players on such big coin and so much controversy? Let's go through it. So number 1 on the list, DCE on 1.2 million, followed by Ben Hunt, 1.1 million. James Tedesco, 1.1 million. Tommy Turbo, 1.1. David Fafita, 1.1. Sean Johnson on 1 million. Cam Munster and Kalen Ponga also on 1 million. RTS on 1 million. Ash Taylor, 960. Moses Mbaye, 950. Taumalolo, 950. The Cyborg, Cleary, 940. The MILF, 940. Mitchell Moses, 920. Josh Dujan, Luke Brooks, the Ghost, Andrew Fafita, and the Speed Demon, Matty Moylan, and Corey Good Times, Norman, 850. Are clubs getting value of the buck bang for buck from all these elite superstars. And out of that list, how many would you say are genuine superstars of our game and worthy of that much coin? I reckon about maybe half of that list.
The Sean Johnson $1 million one for me was a surprise when I researched the player payments. And I'm thinking, because when he left us and he signed with the Sharks, I'm sure that they bandied around $750 as his price. I don't know if to get under the salary cap, he was only given $500 in his first season, and the other extra $250's gone on to his contract this season. That's the only way I can see it, is it'd be a back-ended season. Yeah, Lodge wasn't on this list, so this is, I think, at the beginning of the year. But looking at that list, $1 million is a lot of money. Now, if you rank Tom Trbojevic as worth the 1.1 million that he's getting, and you base everything off that, then no, the rest of the guys on that list don't come close to value for money for what you're paying for your superstars. Ben Hunt especially has done, he does a few good things every now and then, but he's not. Like, if you're on $1.1 million a season, you want to be the main man in that team, doing everything.
He doesn't have the class and consistency of a lot of the other guys on that list, the worthy, like your Tommy T's and your Tedescos.
No.
I would even say he doesn't have the consistency of DCE, to be honest.
No, and that's my thing. My looking at that list of the top 15 that we've listed there, Trbojevic at 1.1 and Nathan Cleary at 940 are probably the only two in that list that is worth the money that they're getting paid. Fafita doesn't do enough to be a $1.1 million player. And nothing against the players for taking this coin, because if someone offered me $1.1 million to sit here and do Raw and Hammer, I'd take it. And my
any
performance
offers?
was the same. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, the interesting one with the Sharks is you've got Sean Johnson on $1 million, and then you've got Dugan, Fafita, and Moylan all on 850. So you got four guys taking up a considerable chunk of their, like nearly $4 million or $3.5 million of their salary cap. Corey Norman on 850. You can understand why the Dragons have said look for another club. Luke Brooks on 850. You can probably understand why the Tigers are trying to shop him around. Moses Mbai 950. We know that the Bulldogs are. Is it the Bulldogs that are paying part of that salary, Carl?
Still paying.
Yeah, but I think the Tigers are paying 800 of it. The Bulldogs are only paying 150 of that. So, it's for me. It's you're not getting value for money. Not for what these guys are doing on the field, except for probably Trbojevic and Tedesco. Mike Doreen was on. He was on a match payments, a case of beer, and a
bit of and a case of Gyprock, bucket of Gyprock.
Well, Ciala's commenting. Ciala says, "Hey Hammer, I love that reply you made to that goose who made that post on New Zealand Warriors till I die for him. How did we ever let go of Brandon Smith?" Yeah, I know they're out there, mate.
Yeah, out there. Mate. There's some weird stuff out there on social media. Yeah. Like I did not know he was ever at our club.
I love those banners that we can get up there now, mate.
How good are they?
It's awesome. Yeah,
we can thank the editor for that.
Yeah, we can. Mate. So, what about your thoughts? What do you think of that list?
I'd have to agree. Tommy T, well deserving. The top two, DCE and Ben Hunt, I wouldn't be giving that much coin to. Guys like, it's got to be your number one man in the team. So you look through there, the guy who consistently performs, it's Trbojevic, the Cyborg. Taumalolo, I could make a case for him getting that much. Hasn't been as consistent as he has been, but certainly not guys like Milford and the Sharks guys that you mentioned, and Corey Norman. And I mean, whoever offered this money was just panic buying.
Well, guys like Milford and Ash Taylor and that are really going to have to change their living conditions, because they're not going to be on that coin, and their contract is going to be considerably less than what they're earning now. So their standard of living will have to change. They'll have to get used to using something else. Are you boys using StreamYard? No.
No.
We aren't. No, we're not. My first rant is going to be about the Rugby League World Cup, mate, the 2021 Rugby League World Cup. Now, Australia and New Zealand, in my opinion, have made the sensible call to pull out of the upcoming World Cup. There is way too much uncertainty surrounding the COVID pandemic worldwide. And we're a little bit different over here than how they're doing things in Europe. So Europe have had the vaccine available to them for some time now, and it's been made available to everyone. And they're at a point in their existence now where it's like, you've had enough time to get vaccinated. We're not going to be in lockdown anymore. If you get it, it's on, if you've chosen not to get the vaccine and you get sick, that's on you now. It's not on us.
You've had ample opportunity. Yep.
Yeah. Whereas in Australia, we haven't had the massive rollout of the vaccine like they have over there. It hasn't been available to everyone. And as such, that's why we're going through these lockdowns. So it's a different landscape of how COVID is operating. So I can understand why the English organisers are up in arms saying, why are the Aussies and the Kiwis pulling out? Well, it's because our players are not going to be protected when they go to England and participate in the World Cup. Now, it's divided our country at present in an environment where we have some sort of control over refusing to travel overseas. Is it the correct decision for a player safety and player welfare? I think it is. The Australian Rugby League, the New Zealand Rugby League are just trying to protect their products. If the tournament still goes ahead, personally, I'm hoping the NRL refuse their contracted players to represent the other rugby league nations also, like the second tier nations. And the reason I say that is because the NRL has to protect its product. And I listened to a podcast today, and a guy on that podcast made some very valid points surrounding this. That say we, he was mentioning that there was 14 guys from the Warriors that could go and represent other countries. So those 14 guys go over to England. They play in the World Cup for Fiji, Cook Islands, Samoa, Niue, Tonga, Ireland, whoever it is that they can represent, and they get the COVID and they come back, and then that kind of spreads again within the Warriors community, or worse, the whole New Zealand community or the Australian community, whatever it is, and then you start the season with guys that haven't done a preseason and they're sick, and you're not 100% at the start of your season. For me personally, as a Warriors supporter, that'd piss me off. So I think that the Australian and New Zealand Rugby League have made a wise decision. The NRL have come out and said they're not going to stop anyone from going, but they're not going to endorse anyone from going either. So it's basically you're on your own if you choose to go. And there is some players that have come out and said that they will go. Taumalolo came out the other day and said he will go and play for Tonga. There's other people that have come out and said that they're not going to go. Like Jazz said last night to us that he probably wouldn't go. A tournament without Australia and New Zealand, though, is it a World Cup? And would it be laughable? Like, would it be a hollow victory to anyone who won? And if anyone who won was in England, would they be the laughingstock of the rugby league world, considering they're theoretically the only other tier one nation in the world?
Plenty of pressure on them then, isn't there? If it's not Australia and New Zealand, look, they don't win.
I can understand why they want people to go, because they've put like $50 million or something into this tournament. They can't postpone it because they've got the Soccer World Cup there next year. So the event organisers have labelled the Aussies and the Kiwis as selfish, and they've even called for future bans to be placed on them in future tournaments.
Fine, but it's probably not the World Cup if they're not there.
That's right. And then you've even got the English Super League. Like, even though you've got this COVID community now with the herd mentality operating over in England because they've had ample time to get vaccinated, the English Super League has still had to cancel 17 games of footy this season due to COVID, because players have come down with COVID and have been able unable to field sides. So I think if they're fair dinkum, it's got to be postponed. How they get compensated for that, I don't know. But yeah, it's got to be postponed. It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
I reckon we could push it back to 2023, but who knows what's going to happen in 2023? That's a thing.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Common sense has to prevail here. Like, you can't really if you go ahead with it and England wins and they call themselves the world champions, I mean, technically they are. It's got a massive asterisk next to it. I agree with the points from that podcast. They're saying we imagine that if we have 14, 15 of our squad turn up and puts us behind the 8 ball again for another disrupted start to the season. Selfishly, from a Warriors point of view, I mean, I really don't want that to happen. So
no,
yeah, I just hope common sense can prevail here.
We hope so.
Yeah, let's talk about the affairs of Appy. Fresh from the fallout of the weekend at Vorney. Fun times, yeah. Fresh from the fallout of the weekend at Vorney's and the sequel Poison Arrow, we now have the new episode in the ridiculous trilogy, Appy's Affair. I love that. Yeah. Seriously, how stupid are these blokes? Talk about absolute self-entitlement. I just can't get my head around it. While many of us are in lockdown and prevented from working, seeing family, loved ones, this absolute moron, after seeing the fallout from Paul Vaughan and Jai Arrow in Origin camp, decides to bring a woman into New South Wales camp not once but twice. The kicker here was, again, it wasn't his wife. It wasn't his wife.
No.
So I just cannot believe how stupid and self-entitled some of these players can be. Like, absolute selfishness. The Warriors and the Storm have effectively been living in bubbles for 2 seasons. No breaches, no issues from either side. And then some of these guys struggle to last for a week. And the NRL issued basic COVID breach penalty of $35,000 fine and 2-game suspension, mate. Absolute stupidity.
It's just ridiculous, mate. Considering, what had been going on in the weeks prior, and then to do it with some random chick that he met on Instagram, who messaged him on Instagram.
Is that what it was? She slid into his DMs.
He slid into his DMs on Instagram, and then he invites her into the thing, and then he saw her twice, and then it was after Jai Arrow got caught, he cancelled. He was having her there for a third time. It got cancelled, and then the chick then messaged Appy's wife and told her what was going on. So
far out.
Yeah, I know. Fun times, Appy. Not so fun times at home now. I think it's
no. I think he's the biggest punishment is still to come.
Oh, okay. Sorry, mate. Cleo's just sent me a private message saying that the comments from Facebook and YouTube show up on YouTube.
Yes. So there you go. We've got so the comments from Facebook and YouTube also show up on the chat here as well.
But do the Facebook comments show up on YouTube? That's what Cleo's saying to me. So I can monitor the conversation better from YouTube rather than watching the Facebook live. But anyway, I'll start with Facebook.
I'm just having a look.
Yeah, just a bit weird, the whole Appy thing. The next one, my big rant for the weekend, for the week is the bunker blunders. Mate, where do I start? Henry Perinara's performance as the bunker official over the weekend was absolutely abysmal. Now, this struggled to see things live on field in front of his face, and I can kind of cut him a bit of slack with some of the decisions he missed because he obviously doesn't have good eyesight. But when he's got screens in front of him and he's able to replay and play and replay and play and look for the things that he should be looking for, and he still misses them, what the fuck is up with this guy? To not only miss that Dylan Brown being a metre offside, but he actually called all players onside when he was like adjudicating on the Micah Sevo try.
But they went back to it. They went back to it however many times as well. And on Channel 9, they were just saying, surely Dylan Brown's offside there. And I said, well, it's got to be. They said, well, it's got to be. That's the end of it. Dylan Brown's offside. Dylan Brown's offside.
Mate, he was awful. He followed that up on Saturday with two very bizarre obstruction plays in the Cowboys game, the Cowboys Storm game. The first against the Cowboys and the second against the Storm, which were just as baffling. I think the first one he called, there was they were both in obstruction, but at no point was anyone really obstructed. It was just common sense says the play goes on and both teams would have scored a try. To add insult to injury, Matt Checkin's on-field display in our game was awful. He missed a lot of on-field discrepancies and forward passes. That was in that same game. Sorry, not our game. And then on two occasions, Perenara was unable to adjudicate on the captain's challenge when the vision was pretty self-explanatory. Like I think they were both on one-on-one strips, and he couldn't make a decision on what was going on the screen. It's
is he scared to make a big call, or what is it? I just don't get it.
At this stage of the season, we shouldn't be talking about the inconsistencies of the refereeing and bunker decisions. It needs to be better. Teams are winning and losing games, close games, on really, really poor decisions. And sometimes there's been decisions made which has affected the game so bad that it's caused a blowout in a score because one team's got such a massive momentum shift from a poor refereeing decision. Hammer really throwing the tomatoes at Henry Marinara. Oh, fuck yeah. Yeah, mate. No, it just shits me the level of inconsistency that we see for not just from week to week, but from game to game on the same weekend. And then incredibly in the same game where two identical plays are ruled completely different by the same set of eyes. I just can't understand it. And I know, as I said, I know it's hard in the heat of the moment to get everything right, which is why we have the bunker. But when the bunker's fucking up those same decisions, when they're able to replay and look at the play on so many occasions and multiple screen angles to get the decision right, it just doesn't make sense to me.
I just cannot. It's unfathomable how they can sit there and watch it and see what we're all seeing at home and still get it wrong. Yeah.
Mark Roberts, hope he doesn't watch this. His poor heart might not be able to take it. He'll have to retire from the bunker too. Nah, he's on easy street there. Absolutely.
Old spectacles, Perenara. Yeah. Let's move on to the next point. I want to talk about the bottom-heavy incompetence. So with the top six, as we said before, basically sorted. There's going to be some very average teams with losing records that are going to qualify for the finals this year. So we said basically top six. So whoever sneaks into 7th and 8th could very well have losing records. It's a far cry if we cast our minds back to 2018 when we finished in 8th spot, but we were only 2 points out of first place. We're 2 points off the minor premiership, and because of for and against, we finished 8th.
Yep.
You've got to ask, is the salary cap doing its job? And what else would we put it down to? Just the absolute gulf chasm, as we said, between the top six and the rest.
That's a very, very, very good point. Yeah, you look at the
injuries, perhaps?
Injuries have a lot to do with it, but then in saying that, look at the Roosters. The Roosters have had...
they're still in the mix, and they're going to make the finals regardless.
Yeah, they've had a wretched run of injuries. They've had 3 players had to retire this season, mid-season. Every team has their injuries. So obviously, it comes down to your roster and the depth of your roster. We've been so unfortunate to have so many injuries and at similar time this year and not have the depth that we probably initially thought we did have when we were looking at the roster saying, oh, this is good, this guy's good, this guy's good, this guy's good. We were looking at depth, say, for instance, in our centres where we looked at, we had Peter Hiku, we had Ewan Aitken, we'd bought Marcelo Montoya, we got Adam Pompey and Rocco Berry. Now, when you break it down, Hiku's experience, he's been in the NRL for quite a few years. Ewan Aitken's been around, he's played 100 and something games. Marcelo Montoya spent most of his career on the wing. And then you've got Pompey, who's played like 20 games, and Rocco Berry, who made his debut this year. Yeah. So, and now, so the depth that we were talking about isn't as strong, say, in our centre position as what we first thought it was.
But, and we were tested. It was tested immediately. Like we lost Aitken first round, Hiku like the week after.
Yep.
So it just happened so
bringing
fast.
Bringing a guy like Ed Cozy, Bambi, into the squad as a development player, and we've had to play him on five occasions this year. Just shows how the lack of depth we've got on the wings at the moment because of injuries, and we let Ken go. We don't have Fuss now as well due to injury, and then we've got our forward stocks where, exactly. They currently have 1,160 or so games sitting on the sideline due to injury or suspensions. So that's got a lot to do with our roster, but every team's going through the same kind of thing with injuries. This year's been unprecedented with injuries. You look at the bottom four teams, Bulldogs, Broncos, Warriors, Cowboys. They're the bottom four teams on the table at the moment. There are also 4 rookie coaches, 3 of them in their first year Brownie's been there before, but again, he was in a system that he was building from the ground up at Newcastle. Trent Barrett had a year and a half at Manly, and he really didn't have a good roster there either. Kevy's at the Broncos. He's come in as a rookie coach. Todd Payton's a rookie coach. And then just sitting above him, you've got the Tigers, who have got Madge, who are going through a rebuild. Then you've got the Knights, again, with Adam O'Brien, who's a rookie coach. 10th is Holbrook, who's a rookie coach. But then you look at the other end of the spectrum, the guys that are coaching those top 6 sides, Bellamy, Cleary, Wayne Bennett, Brad Arthur, Trent Robinson, Des Hasler.
They've been there for a long time. And they've got continuity and cohesion in their squads. Well settled lineups. Yeah.
They've all of them except Ivan has won a premiership as a coach. Mm-hmm. But Ivan's been at the big dance as a coach before with us and with the Panthers. Mm-hmm. So a lot of it comes down to, I guess, to the people that you have around you. I watched an interesting little clip the other day that Craig Bellamy did, where he announced his re-signing to the playing squad at the Melbourne Storm, and it was shared on Fox League. And he addressed his playing squad, and he said, he signed on for 5 years. First year definitely as coach, and then whatever happens after that happens. But he went on to praise the 4 guys that he's got around him as his assistants, without naming who they were. But, we know Kearney's one of them, and we've always said Stephen Kearney is a fantastic assistant coach. He may not be a great head coach, but he's a fantastic assistant coach. And I think it helps when you've got the right people around you too in those organisations. I think the salary cap and the way you buy your roster definitely has something to do with it. Because you just look at the table to see the most successful sides are the sides with the strongest rosters and the most depth and the most successful coaches. So it's no secret, I guess, that's the way that the competition pans out. Bearing in mind, when you look at the Panthers, though, the Panthers aren't a side built on big name players. They're a side built on the continuity of having that academy in place where they've brought their juniors through, which is what the Warriors are wanting to implement.
So we're hoping Gus was going to get into,
Yeah, absolutely. So that's just my view, and I'm sorry to take over your.
No, that's fine, mate. I pretty much I was just at a loss to what we can really put it down to, but you've answered that perfectly.
Well, they're just my thoughts. They're not the answers. They're just the thoughts coming out of a lonely man in lockdown during COVID with excessive hair growth on his head and face, and really looking to try and remember what the sun looks like. So, my final ramp is pretty much on the back of what you're talking about in regards to the dominance of the top six, and then the remaining what is it, 8, 10 teams just really being so inconsistent and incompetent in terms of regular and consistent gameplay on the field. I think an 8-team final series in a 16-team competition is bizarre, and it's always been bizarre for me. And we've kept it at 8 ever since we had that 1 year where we had 20 teams in the comp, and they made it an 8-team competition, which I think was 98, was it?
Yeah, when we saw the Adelaide Rams going around.
Yeah, and then they reduced the comp to 18 and then 16, and as a result of that, we've kept the semi-final series at 8 teams. So basically half the competition qualifies for the final. It rewards mediocrity and inconsistency. And we saw last season the Sharks literally limping into the 8th spot with a massive negative points differential and not having beaten any of the teams that were placed 1 to 7 during that year.
You don't deserve to be playing finals if you have that kind of record. You don't deserve to be playing finals. You've got a negative record. Yeah.
We're going to see it again, a similar example this season. We're probably just going to see it with 2 teams, in 7th and 8th, not having played consistent enough footy to truly warrant being a semi-final team. So, personally, I would prefer a top 6 played over 3 weeks. So teams 1 and 2 would earn the first week of the finals off. They'd get a rest after the regular season. Teams 3 and 4, Team 3 plays Team 6 at home. Team 4 plays Team 5 as a home semi. The winners of those games go on to play Team 1 and 2 the following week in a grand final qualifier. And then obviously the teams that win the grand final qualifier go on to the grand final. So it's effectively a 3-week competition. None of this, if you're the highest placed loser, you can still have a second chance. That's just garbage. Because if you're losing games of footy at the business end of the season, you don't deserve to be there. However, in saying that, as brilliant as I think I am, the corporate dollar, sponsorships, TV rights deals, demand that the current setup will remain and teams will continue to be satisfied with complacency because the NRL won't want to lose an extra week of finals footy, all that sponsorship dollar, all those ticket sales, everything else.
I'd go a throwback. Yeah, sorry, go on.
I was going to say, Ciala says if it happens with the top 6 finals footy, we'll never win a premiership in this century. That's not true, bro, because there's still 78 years left in this century, so we've got a lot of time. We might not be around to see it, but yeah.
If it takes all 78, I'll be well into my hundreds, but it'll be worth it.
What were you going to say? Takes you back to what? It's a throwback to...
I was just going to say, let's just take it back to 1994 when we still had the 5-team final system. It was simple. Everyone knew what they had to do. You had the best of the best teams making it. And it is retro round this week.
The 5-team still revolved around one team being able to lose a game and still make the grand final. And I for some reason, it just seems weird to me that you can lose a game of footy and still have a chance of winning a premiership. It just, I don't know. It just, yeah.
Canberra did it in 94, didn't they? They lost to Canterbury and then beat Canterbury in the grand final. Yeah, fair point.
Mate, we nearly did it in 2011. We lost. We got smacked by Brisbane. Had no right to be in that. Yeah, had no right to be in that semi-final race, in that grand final race, and we got there.
Gerard Beale carved us up that night.
Tigers did the same thing with the Cowboys. Yeah. Pumped them in the first semi, played them in the grand final.
That's right. It was like a 50-point win in the first round, wasn't it?
Yeah. So yeah, that's our set of rants for this week, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. Please put your comments in there. As always, we get around to going back and looking at the comments and commenting a bit later on, even though we do comment on them in person while we're here on mic. But if you put some comments in, we'll definitely respond to those.
Yeah.
Hey, mate, we haven't stopped yet. Whoa. It's come up on screen, mate.
I've done him a bit of a disservice here. I haven't given him the full respect he deserves. Let me fix that up for
No.
you.
Hang on. Let me get the actual cup. I'll put it in the front of the camera.
I'll accept it now.
Here we go. It is time for the second leg of the Mike Doreen Cup. Make sure you got one hand on it, buddy, because we do have one hand on it.
What are you doing? Are you going to put a Tigers jersey on? Just come and put one hand on the cup.
Thanks to our 30-26 victory over the Tigers, which was actually our last win this season. Also not just the Reece Walsh show. We do have one hand on the Mike Doreen Cup. For those of you who've been living under a rock and don't know who Mike Doreen is, he was actually the pioneer for players playing for the Warriors and the Tigers. He was the very first. He played for the Auckland Warriors. Was it 5 games?
Hang on.
Oh, hang on. We've got a photo here. What a promotional shot that is. To the game. And then we got Mike there in the background plastering the gaps in the wall.
Hang on, mate. I'm gonna see if I can find a photo of Mike Doreen to share with our viewers here.
Yeah. I'll go through while you're doing that. I'll go through the team for the Mike Doreen Cup decider. We've got Reece Walsh at fullback, Dallin Watene-Zelezniak and Hectic Montoya on the wings, Adam Pompey and Ewan Aitken in the centres, Peter Hiku named a surprise return from injury at 5'8" and captain, and partnering him in the halves is Sean O'Sullivan. We've got young Maney back from Dragons, just starting in the front row with Ben Murdoch-Masila, and great to see Taniela Otokolu getting a starting berth there. Alessi Katoa and Bailey Sirenden in the second row. Joshi Curran at lock. On the bench, we've got Cody, Bunty, Kane Evans, and Jazz Tavaga. And the extended bench includes Ed Viliami Valia and Pride Predison Rabadi. And number 22 is 2BC, TBC, because we haven't got anyone else. So,
you ready, mate? You ready?
I'm ready. For those of you who are not acquainted with Mike Doreen, we're just waiting for confirmation.
Did it go? Hang on.
Disappeared. We'll keep going. Congratulations again to Peter Hiku, named captain on his return and also named in the halves. Sean O'Sullivan returning to the team at halfback, as we said. JTB back from his shorts. Benny Murdoch-Masila back from 2 weeks on the sideline. Katoa named despite being listed as injured after Saturday's game. RTS and Armour both headed back to NZ and not available for the rest of the season. Matty Lodge is suspended. And then we have Egan, Harris, Berry, Fusatua, Chad Townsend. Here we go. There he is. What a mean-looking man.
Yep, here we go.
Mike Doreen. Look at that haircut. Look at that flat top.
Where is he?
He's just he just looks like a hard-working centre, doesn't he? So there you go. This is the man who has the cup named after him. 5 games for the Auckland Warriors, I think it was. 5 games in 1995, and I think he played about 10 games for the Sydney Tigers, was it?
10.
We'll have to get that picture put on the cup.
10 games for the Tigers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then went on to play for the Hunter Mariners, I think it was.
Yep.
All right, other games.
Season, I think. Where are we, mate?
We're up to review. So we'll look at the other games going ahead this weekend. And we've got Thursday night in Mackay. We've got the Roosters up against the Eels. For the Roosters, both Billy Smith and Matt Al Bundy Ikavalu out injured. AK Adam Kieran named in the centres. Joey Wonderkind Manu shifted to the wing, I should say. Josh Morris returns from his brief stint on the sideline after being dropped. And no changes to the forward pack. And All-American quarterback Fletcher Baker from Omaha, Nebraska, dropped to the extended bench. And for the Eels, Tom Opachich returns in the centres, replacing last week's debutant, Will Penasini. nickname incoming. Daddy's boy, Jake After retains his spot in the halves. No changes to the Parramatta forward pack, and the Will Frespridge Smith named on the bench. Smell you later, Holmes. There's a go. Yeah. Roosters. I'm going to go the Eels here in a close one. Eels 1-12 for mine.
I'm going to go Roosters 1-12. Yeah, I don't know why. I really like the Roosters back row pairing of Satili Tupanua and Lord Farquhar up against Team Wolf, Papali'i and Ryan Madison. And let's not forget that Parramatta have a great bench rotation where they bring Sean Fish Eyes Lane onto the field. Yeah. He's got eyes like a fish.
Yeah, I reckon he does too. Yeah. That's why it's.
I'm going to go Roosters 1-12. I think. Friday night, Suncorp Stadium, first game. West Tigers versus the mighty Vodafone Warriors in the deciding match of the inaugural Mike Doreen Cup. Tigers, Junior Polga out injured, replaced by Moses Umbai in the centres. Sean Blore named in the back row to replace the injured Luke Garner. And Tom Amone and Michael Cheekam named on the interchange bench. Warriors, no changes to their back five. Petahiku named at 6 and also named as captain, as you said, mate. Congratulations to Pet.
Congrats.
Sean O'Sullivan named at halfback. AFB and Matt Lodge out due to injury and suspension, respectively. JTB and BMM named in the front row. And Taniela Otokolo earns his first starting gig, shifting Jazz back to the interchange bench, which surprisingly was where Jazz preferred to play. He prefers to come off the bench as an impact forward.
Yeah, he said lock off the bench. So interesting. But he's in his preferred spot. So
my mind is telling me Tigers, but my heart is saying Warriors 1-12.
Mate, it can't be anything more than a very, very comfortable Warriors win by 4.
Yeah. I love how everyone's trying to get involved on the nicknames now. We got Kirch coming up with Will Hitch.
We started something here.
Yeah, we've got Mark Roberts with Sean Lazy Lane. So keep them coming, guys, because Ciala says that Mike Doreen reminds him of a Caucasian version of Jake the Muss. Mike Doreen, the Caucasian Jake the Muss. I love that.
He's like a just trying to think who.
He reminds me of a hard-working centre / plasterer.
I was going to say like a slightly less built Ivan Drago.
Oh yeah.
I must plaster you.
Yeah.
All right. So what next week after that we've got it's a double header at Suncorp Stadium, boys. And old Kevy is stuck solid with his back line from the halves unchanged for a record 3 straight weeks. How about that from Kevy? 3 weeks, no changes to the halves. Keenan Palacia named to partner Payne Haas in the front row. Danny Levi with a call up on the interchange bench. Origin winger Xavier Coates well and truly on the outer Red Hill if he can't make the Broncos team at the moment after Origin. And for the Cowboys, the superstar number 1, Jake Granville, retains his spot. And Toddy sticking solid with his starting 13 from last week, with Benny Hampton coming on the bench there. Look, I think on the strength of their form last week, I'm going to go very close win for the Broncos here. I think these games are always notoriously close, go down to golden point more often than not. I wouldn't be surprised to see this one go into extra time, but I think the Broncos will just have enough to get the job done there. Sorry, Todd.
I think so too, mate. I'm going to tip the Broncos in a close one, but it wouldn't surprise me to see Tom Dearden and Scott Drinkwater really take control of this game and get the Cowboys home. But in my tips, I've gone the Broncos. 1-12. Saturday, the NRL goes to Brown Park in Rockhampton. Any Rockhampton people here?
Yeah, anyone from Rocky? I've got some friends heading up there. Yeah.
Yeah, for the Dragons versus the Rabbitohs. Mass changes for the Dragons. Week 3 of the rolling suspensions. Tyrone Sloan at fullback for Matt Duffy, who has been relegated to the extended bench in a weird move by what's his name? Hook Griffin. Matt Fiegel. Yeah, Matt Fiegel retains his spot on the wing. Also,
the most exciting coach around.
Yeah, he is. He retains his spot on the wing with the guy who won a footballer for a day competition, Cody Ramsey. Also dropped to the extended bench. Right, he just looks like he's not a footballer. He looks like they just pulled him out of the stands and said, "Look, we're short a player. Can you play?"
Me?
Yeah, me. Yeah.
Yeah, you with the ponytail and the Speedy Gonzalez tat on your thigh.
St George with the new centre pairing of Talatau Amone and Corey Goodtimes Norman. Jaden Sullivan retained in the halves. Poessa Farmasili, Billy Burns, and Tyrell Fui Mayano all named in a really different looking starting pack. Adam Clune and Jaden Hunt named the new inclusions on the interchange bench. For the Rabbits, Campbell Dexter Graham, the serial killer, returns from injury in the centres. One game warrior Tane Milne drops back to the interchange bench. Reece Walsh lookalike like Blake Tough named on the interchange bench. No other changes to the team that put the 60 on the Warriors last week. I think it'll be another big win for the Rabbits, and I'm picking them 13 plus.
Mate, I reckon they'll bring up another half
Yeah, easy.
century as well. The Rabbitohs. They have the Knights up against the Raiders. Bradman Best returns from a long injury layoff, named in the centres. And Ari Tuala moves from the wing, and Dominic Predator. It wasn't quite how I imagined it, but anyway. Young dropped from the squad. Connor Watson named at 13. Mitch Pearce and Sextoy, both named on the extended bench. Could get a bit of use to Sextoy.
Is he playing with a sex toy? Is there a dog involved somewhere?
Yeah, there's got to be. Jordan Ruppiner keeps his hands on the number 1 jersey. Harley Smith-Shields, there's a name, retains his spot on the wing. Jack Whiten returns from injury, with Matt Frawley dropping back to the extended bench. Josh Papali'i back into the starting team. And Elliot Whitehead returning from injury. No changes to the bench of Starling, Tomoko, Soliola, and Tapani. I think the Raiders will get the job done here. They're coming into a sort of a pretty good patch at the right time of the year for them. So, Millie, I'm tipping you boys. I think it'll be a close one, though, 1-12.
Yeah, no, I disagree 100%, mate. I not on the Raiders. I think the Raiders will win. I think it'll be a massive win. I think they'll get up 13 plus. There's none of this home ground advantage anymore for any of these sides. They're all playing away from home. The Knights struggle away from Newcastle. I just think that Raiders pack is just coming into its own now. And, Elliot Whitehead, fresh off his re-signing for another 2 years, I think he signed at the Raiders for.
Yeah, he's been a great servant for them.
He has, and he's a great inclusion. He's missed the last 2 games with injury. Harley Smith-Shields, another hyphenated surname. So no doubt at some stage in the next year or 2, he'll end up at the Warriors.
Of course, he has to.
We've had Tuivasa-Sheck, we've got Watani Zalesniak, Harris Tavita, Murdoch Masilla, Tanoa Brown, Fanua Blake. Is there any
Tui Mavavi Gerard? Remember, he was sniffing around as well.
Yeah. So we're good with a hyphenated surname. We know how to use them. So he could be a warrior. He's a big unit too. He's a big, strong winger.
Big, strong, strapping young lad.
Strapping young. He was good. Suncorp Stadium, Storm versus Panthers. Probably not the grand final replay that we're all looking forward to, and certainly, round 3 this year was great, where the Panthers, I think, won 12-10 or 14-12 or something like that. There was only 2 points in it. This is not going to be a game like that.
Tonight a try on the buzzer. Yeah.
Nico Hines retains his fullback spot with Ryan Pappenhausen again named on the bench. Cameron Munster returns from being rested last week. Dale Finucane also returns with Big Tui Kamikamitha dropping back to the interchange bench. The Heartbreak Kid, Aaron Penne. That's not
Aaron
the Heartbreak
Booth.
Kid, is it? That's Booth, yeah. Aaron Penne back on the interchange bench. Harry Grant named on the extended bench. So he could be a late inclusion at this point in time. Panthers, Brett Powder-Naden retains his spot in the centres. Robert Jennings named on the wing to replace the injured Brian To'o. Matt Burton moves back to his preferred position in the halves to partner Jerome Luai. Liam Casper-Martin moves into the front row for Mr. Intensity James Fisher-Harris, who has left the bubble for the birth of his child. Paul Gallen's cousin, Matt Eisenhuth, named at lock for the injured Isaiah Yeo. And Isaac Tago and Jermaine Hopgood named on the interchange bench. Mate, I think the Storm are going to put a number on the Panthers. I think it'll be 13 plus. I think it's going to be another big win for the Storm.
I have to agree. I wouldn't be surprised to see the Storm put 40 on again this week. I think they'll be way too good for. Probably haven't had a great last fortnight. I mean, they got lucky against us with all the injuries. So yeah, I'm expecting another big win from the Storm. Apologies, I said it was Sunday game previously, but this is actually the first game on Sunday at Seabus Super Stadium. We've got the Bulldogs versus the Titans. Bulldogs, Scarecrow gets a reprieve and is named at halfback with Lachlan LaRusso-Lewis dropping back to the extended bench. Adam Elliott returns from injury in the back row and Joe Stimson dropping back to the extended bench. And for the Titans, Isan Masters named to replace the injured Paddy Herbert. And Sexy named at halfback again. But Jamal Fogarty named on the extended bench. So there could be a late change there. The Enigma, David Fafita named to the starting back row. And the Don, fresh from his latest board short quest, has been named on the extended bench. Extended bench for the Don. Come on.
Yeah, extended bench with his extended shorts.
Extended shorts, exactly. Look, I think the Titans will get the job done, but the Bulldogs have been showing a lot of fight and tenacity, and I expect it to be, a close win. Very close game, but I think Titans will have too much class at the end.
I agree, mate. Luke Thompson's out for the Bulldogs. That's come through
Big
tonight.
Loss. Huge loss.
Yeah, he's been suspended. So, that's a huge loss for the Bulldogs pack. Again, they've brought the Scarecrow in. I don't think the Scarecrow offers them anything.
Not unless he's been to see the Wizard during the week.
That's exactly right. And there is no Wizards in the Bulldogs lineup. So, I reckon the Titans. I think it'll be a lot closer than people think. I think the Titans will get them by about 10 points. And that brings us to the last game, is it? Yeah. At Moreton Daly Stadium, Redcliffe, home of the Redcliffe Dolphins. Anthony Gadget, Don Go Gadget shorts.
Go Gadget shots.
The Sharks versus Seagulls. The Sharks. Will Chambers returns and slots straight into the centres. Connor Tracy at 6 and Braden Trindle at 7 for the injured Moylan and Johnson, although Moylan has been named on the extended bench. Britton Nakora promoted from the bench to the run-on team and Jack Williams back to the interchange bench. And Andrew Fafita again named on the interchange bench. The Seagulls. No changes to the starting 13 for the Seagulls from last week's game. Mad Dog Lawton named on the interchange bench, returning from injury. Curtis Sirinen also named on the interchange bench for his first game since round 1. And that pushes Moses Sully and Cade Cust back to the extended bench. For me, I am going to pick Manly 13 plus.
Yeah, I agree. Manly are in great form. The Sharks are going to be up against it with Sean Johnson out for probably the rest of the season. I think Manly will have way too much strike power for them. And that rounds out the weekend of footy.
Absolutely.
Upcoming games, as we said.
Yeah, upcoming games.
Round 20 versus the Tigers for the Mike Doreen Cup. Warriors have one hand on, as we said, with a 6-point differential. So it's going to come down to
it's
points.
It's actually 4 point, isn't it?
Four point.
Differential.
Apologies, Carl. Come on. We just at least give us a 2-point buffer there. So that's going to be at Suncorp. That'll be part of the double header. So if you can get along to that, please do. But if you aren't able to get along, we will be doing a live watch
Yep.
with that
Is
one.
it a milestone game? Because is someone in the Tigers playing a milestone game? Because
Yeah.
who?
We're playing for 20 losses in a row, mate.
Oh, because you're not real good at milestone games, mate.
Not good at being favourites.
Yeah.
Round 21 the following week is actually going to be a triple header, so that'll be a great one to get along to because we're the 3 o'clock game, and then there'll be a couple of games after that. So anyone in Southeast Queensland, make sure you get along to that. We got after that round 22, which is now. We don't actually know, where that's being played. So we know that round 21 versus Sharks is definitely at Suncorp. Venue to be confirmed for round 22 versus the Bulldogs. Round 23 will be at Suncorp Stadium against the Broncos. That will be as scheduled, I believe. So that will still be
the 4 o'clock
game.
Sunday Channel 9 game. Yeah,
Channel 9 game. There you go. Round 24 versus the Raiders to be confirmed. And then the final round of the season at Seabus Super Stadium versus the Gold Coast Titans. Super stuff that. Was to be RTS's final regular season game for the Warriors, not to be. Hopefully, we will both be there. I'll definitely be there, but we're hoping that this lockdown business resolves itself. The COVID the situation improves in Sydney, and we can get the hammer up for that game, and hopefully a pre-game get-together for all the supporters as well. But stay tuned for that one. As always, Warriors posters available at the game from either of us if we're there. Upcoming live chats, as we mentioned last night, we do have Brent Tate, champion, former ex-Warrior, ex-Bronco, Cowboy, and Queensland and Australian star. And we're coming on to have a chat with us in the coming weeks.
We've got Stacey Jones. Yeah, the little general. Stacey Jones coming on Saturday the 14th. We still yet to confirm a time with Stacey for that one. Depends on his commitments. But it will be happening on that Saturday. And then just prior to the NRLW season, we're going to have Georgia Hale stop by and have a chat with us. And another big announcement due to... Rue's video's frozen at my end too, but I can still hear him. Your video's frozen, bro.
Oh, okay. I don't know what's happening there, but I'm still here.
We might have another announcement to make another big interview coming up in a couple of weeks as well. But just keep following us on Facebook and Instagram. We're all out. We post all our news. All our posts are done through there. You can catch us on YouTube, and now we'll be doing the live stream to YouTube as well now every week. So you can catch the live show on Facebook or YouTube. And if you don't catch us live and you want to catch up, you can always go to the Facebook page or the YouTube page and watch a replay of the video. Or if you're like me and like to stick some headphones on and zone out, listen to some stuff, you can find us on Spotify, Apple, Google, Breaker, Radio Direct, and iHeartRadio on all the podcast platforms. Just type in Rue and Hammer, search, and follow and subscribe us, and then you'll get the updates every time we upload. I upload all the live chats pretty much straight after
the whole back catalogue's there, so make sure you check it out.
Yeah.
Friday night, you, me, and the Great One will be doing a live reaction to the game, won't we? The Mike Doreen Cup Decider.
We will be. It'd be great to get maybe some of our New Zealand fans in on that if they so want to be. Yeah, but no, I mean New Zealand-based fans. Yeah, shut up. Guys like TK or Mark Roberts, if they want to jump on a live feed with us on Friday,
get in touch.
While you guys are watching. Yeah, while you guys are watching on your New Zealand broadcast through Sky Sport 1 or whatever it is over there that run the Warriors games, we can kind of have a bit of banter and so forth through the Rue and Hammer Facebook Live, and be a nice bit of fun. Have a bit of banter with you boys during the game.
That'd be great. That's what it's all about.
Send me a private message and let me know if you're keen, and we'll work something out for Friday night. Are we going to do it through this restream, or we'll do it through YouTube?
I think we can do it. If we do it through Restream. We can go. The beauty of this is we can go live to Facebook and to YouTube as well.
YouTube.
So we can go across
let's
multiple platforms. So we can do that. We can. Any of you guys want to join? We can send you the link to join in.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, beautiful.
Awesome.
Awesome. Another big week, mate. Two big shows. Again,
Certainly
thank you.
be.
Thanks to thanks for don't get Josh Gage. He'll be stuck in Wednesday with his stream. Yeah, I know. Want a massive shout out to Jazz for joining us last night, and everyone that tuned in last night, everyone that tunes in tonight and continues to follow and support us. We appreciate that. Keep sharing all our stuff. We do it
much love
basically
to
for
you guys. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. As we always say, it's just two fans doing something for other fans, and we're happy for the other fans to get involved any way they can. So whether it be get you on for these live things, game review things, which are a little bit of fun, and it makes the whole game experience watching from home a little bit more bearable too. I think for a lot of us,
it certainly does.
But yeah. But thank you to everyone. For those in lockdown around various parts of the world, stay safe, particularly my fellow Sydney and New South Welshmen. We're doing it a little bit tough for those out of lockdowns and able to move freely within the community. Make sure you get out and don't take your freedoms for granted. It's great to be able to do that kind of stuff. If you can get to the games, show the boys some support.
That's it. They really need it. Cam George says he really appreciates all us guys getting out there and supporting them.
Absolutely,
and it means a lot to the group as well.
Yep. Yeah. And not that he's going to see this, but on the off chance that he does, that someone shows him, we just want to say much love to Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, to him and his family, his wife and his beautiful kids. We wish them all the best on their new adventure and his new journey in pursuing an All Blacks career. And we are indebted to him forever for what he's done in a Warriors jersey, particularly in the past 2 years. He's been that strength of character and that shining light for everyone within our organisation, and he's led us admirably on and off the field. And I just want to thank him for everything he's done.
Yeah, couldn't have said it better myself. I echo those thoughts. Champion player, champion bloke.
Absolutely.
Yep.
All right, mate. That'll just about do us. Thanks again for everyone for tuning in, and we'll speak to you. No doubt we'll chat to you next week, and see you over the weekend.
Cheers, guys. Thanks, everyone.